Again, it's Masechta Sukkah, and we're going to be starting Be'ezus Hashem on Daf Gimel Amud Sheni. I'll just back out a little bit, and it's 2 lines from the bottom. Hoysa Gavoya Me'esram Ama. Okay, this is the picture. We're going to back to pictures again. But it's much
This is really where the pictures really help. Really help.
Right. So you'll see.
They help everywhere, but the sukkah and, of course, the Beis Hamikdash also really important.
Yes. And a lot of the pictures that I'm showing is going to be familiar stuff. We've seen it before.
Yes.
In Erevin, because it overlaps a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the Mishnah discussed a sukkah that was 20 amas high, all right, 40 feet, and the Mishnah says it's pasul, right? So that was the picture. So the Gemara, we're here on Daf Gimel Amud Sheni, 2 lines from the bottom. The Gemara says, and the Gemara is just going to give you all today is just a little halachas. Haisa gavoya me'esram ama. Let's say you have a sukkah that's higher than 20 amas, and so therefore it's pasul. But you want to uvola ma'ata bekorim uchsasais, and you want to lower it, not by lowering the schach to make it kosher, but raising the floor. And how do you raise the floor so that the gap is no more than 20 amas? So it's less than 20 amas. So you use karim uchsasois. Karim, I think, is what is that? A pillow or covers. You take your pillows and covers, and you put it into the sukkah, and you step on it, and that raises the floor. So the halacha is, the Gemara says, lo yihave mi'ut. That's not called minimizing the gap, and that's no good. Why? Because the reason is because you're not going to leave it there. You're not saying that this becomes part of the sukkah. Potentially, your wife will come in and say, "What are you stepping on this?" and pull it away. So therefore, it's not left there, and because of that, it doesn't make the sukkah kosher. So we say it like this: go on Dalet Amud Aleph. The Afagav, even though the batlinu lekula. You said, I want to leave it there all yontiv, right? You want to leave it there all yontiv. That's what you said with your mouth. Doesn't work. Most people will not leave pillows and covers as to use as the floor of the sukkah. So your nullification doesn't count, and therefore the sukkah remains pasul. But teven ubitloi, let's say you bring straw. Straw is animal food. Now, animal food potentially could be used for food, but you put it there, ubitloi, and you put it on the floor, and you said, I'm leaving it there. Then, since you said it outright, you said it with your mouth, have miyut, that is considered a good minimizing the gap, and it will become a kosher sukkah. The kolshkein certainly offer dirt, which has no use at all. Ubitla, you put dirt in the sukkah and raise the floor that way. Certainly, that will make the sukkah kosher. Now comes the halacha. Now comes the question. What happens? You took tevin, straw, but instead of saying it with your mouth that you want to leave it there, you just said it in your mind's head. Ve'ein asur lefanoisu. You said, I'm not going to remove it from there, but you didn't say I'm mafkir it or making it as part of the sukkah. You just in your mind, I'm putting it there. I'm not going to remove it all sukkahs. You didn't use your mouth. Or the offer stam, or offer dirt, but you didn't think either way. You just didn't have any thought at all. You just put dirt there, and you didn't say, I'm leaving it there or I'm not leaving it there. So because you didn't use your mouth, this will become a machlokes Rabbi Yossi Rabbanim. It would become a machlokes between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanim. Rabbanim will say it won't work, and Rabbi Yossi will say it will work. Now, where would this machlokes be between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanim? Has to do with something else. We know that, when they carry a mace on the plane from El Al, they're taking it to Eretz Yisrael. So they usually have the coffin has like a tefach on top of it, so that the mace is in its own little ohel, own little structure of a tent, and therefore it blocks the tumah from going up into the plane. It just keeps it intact. The tumah stays in the coffin and spreads throughout the coffin. So, but only if there's a tefach on top of the nose of the mace till the roof of the coffin. So, but what happens, says the Brisa, the Mishnah says, bias, we'll call it a house, a coffin, shemilo ohu tevin, you filled it up with straw, or rocks or dirt. Troiris is another name for dirt. Ubitloi. And you said, I'm leaving it there. Now, because you actually filled up the airspace a little bit with straw and dirt, and you said, I'm leaving it there, so now there's no tefach, it's not considered an oil anymore because it doesn't have a airspace of a tefach. Therefore, muvoto, it becomes there and becomes part of that box, and therefore the tuma now goes straight up and goes straight even through the roof of the house or the roof of the coffin, because there's no gap of a tefach anymore, because you put there straw and rocks, and there is no more a gap, a space of a tefach to make it into an oihel. So, but you had to say, the Rabbanan said, bitloy, you had to say that I'm leaving it there. Bitloy in, only if you say with your mouth that you're leaving it there, then it becomes part of the coffin. Loy bitloy, but if you didn't say it with your mouth, loy, it wouldn't become part of the coffin. So according to Rabbanan, let's apply it by sukkah. If you put straw or dirt in the sukkah, but you didn't say you're leaving it there, so then it will not become part of the sukkah, and the sukkah still remains with a 20 amma gap, and it would be possible. But the Tana Allah, what we learned on a brisa that disagrees. Rabbi Yossi said, Teven, if you put in the box, by the mace, you put in the box or the house straw, vein asad lafanoisa, and you're not going to remove it from there. So in your mind, you left it there, but you didn't say outright with your mouth that you're going to mevatel it there, you're going to nullify it. But in your mind, you said, I'm not going to use this straw. Then hareu ka'afostam. That's Rabbi Yossi says that is as if you put dirt without any thought, and dirt without any thought, probably you're going to leave it there, ubatel, and then it becomes nullified there, and therefore it would prevent it now from remaining an oil, become not a oil anymore because it doesn't have an airspace of a tefa. So we see Rabbi Yossi holds that even if you don't have in mind, even if you don't express yourself verbally, but just by thinking about it, then it becomes mevatel there. But if you take dirt, you said dirt, and you in your mind you said, I'm leaving the dirt, but I'm going to take it away. Harehu kastam tevin. That's just leaving. That's as if you left straw without any thought. V'loy batel, and it doesn't become part of it. It doesn't become nullified to the coffin. So Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion that you don't really have to express verbally what you mean. It's just in your minds, in your thought processes, that's enough to make it that you're going to become part of the sukkah, and you mavatal it to the sukkah or not. So therefore, according to Rabbi Yossi, if you take straw, animal food, which generally you want to feed your animals, but if in your mind you said, I'm going to leave it there through Yantiv, maybe after Yantiv you're going to give it to your animals, but in your mind you thought that you're going to leave it there, according to Rabbi Yossi, that is enough so that it becomes part of the floor of the sukkah, and therefore you don't have a gap anymore of 20 amas, and therefore it becomes a kosher sukkah. Next.
Bernard, I hate to go off topic, but since we're talking about Tuma and Ohel, I just being practically just seeing how the kavur is done in Eretz Israel. They don't even use a coffin when they transport. They have that. They just wrap up the body in with all the tachshis, and also I think also maybe the talis. There's no coffin at all. But does it really
but
matter?
I'm talking about on the plane. I'm talking about on the plane ride.
So when they're transporting a person, let's say Israel transports something, they have to put it in a coffin for
Sure. Yes,
absolutely. No matter where they're going to be the kfura, right?
Right, because otherwise the Kahanim would boycott the airline.
Right. So even despite the idea of if it's whether it's somewhere out of the Chuslaretz or it's in Eretz Israel, if they have the bodies to be transported, it has to be transported with that
Tefach.
space.
It
right?
certainly is. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. There's hechsherim that come. There's a whole bezdin. El Al has their own bezdin or something like that. Rabbi that gives the hechsher on it. But anyway, it definitely has a tefach on it.
Okay.
Haisa gavoya. Now here's the next case. Haisa gavoya esramam. What happens? Look at the picture over here. You have a sukkah that's 20 amas high, but look at these branches coming down. You have kosher schach that minimize the ear space, so it's less than. That's called hutzin. Hutzin are like twigs coming down, so that minimizes the airspace. And there's a lot of twigs over here. So the if it was higher than 20 amas, and you have hutzin, these twigs coming down into the 20 amas. So therefore, if there's enough twig space that if you would remove the top, the twigs are enough to make a schach, there would be enough shade more than sun, then it would be keshera, because what we are going to do essentially is ignore the top schach, and you say the real schach is this chutzin, which makes it that there is no 20 amos in between. So therefore, yes, vim lav, if there's very little twigs, so to speak, so they wouldn't constitute their own schach by itself, then psula, then the whole sukkah is possible, because we discount the hutzim. That's not the schach. The top is the schach. Now, the opposite case is let's see if I have a picture. You have the opposite case. Oh, you don't have it here. But you have the case is that if you have a sukkah that's less than 10 tvachim, right? 10 tvachim, that's about close to 2 3/4 feet, right? But the hutzin yardun l'seichud. But the hutzin twigs come in to the sukkah. So now, between the floor to the top of the hutzin, the top of these twigs is less than 10 tvachim. Do these hutzin passel the sukkah? Right? Now you're going to have an ear space of less than 10 tvachim. Sovar Abaya Lemeimer. Abaya said that if you have very little hutzim, im chamosim ruba mitzilason, if you have more sun than shade, so these hutzim wouldn't constitute their own schach by itself, so they become part of the schach on top. So then the sukkah is kshera. We just ignore the hutzim, even though they come into the sukkah and block you. But still, that's not the real schach. The real schach is the one on top of it. Amalei Rava. Rava says no. It would still be a not a good sukkah, because Rava says a new thing. Hadira suruchihi. That is the most uncomfortable living quarters, and a person can't live in such uncomfortable living quarters. So technically, it could be kosher, because really you discount the chutzim and you have 10 tefachim. But because there's chutzim in your face and there's no way to get around it, so therefore it's an uncomfortable living space, and it's possible maybe midrabanan, because it's very difficult to live under such conditions. So you're seeing a new thing over here, that you could passel a sukkah, not because the sukkah itself is passel, but because it's uncomfortable to live there. Haisa gavoya me'esrim amma, a new case. Here you have pictures in the Gemara itself. Haisa gavoya me'esrim amma. You have the sukkah that's higher than 20 amas. So sukkah that's higher than 20 amas should be passel. But what you did was ubonaba itztaba keneged doifin emtsoi al pnei kula. V'yeshba hechshe sukkah kashera. He built a stage. So what he did was, look at this. There's a sukkah and it's 20 amas, right? So he built a stage across the whole sukkah. So basically the sukkah was open. It had 3 walls, 1, 2, and then this wall over here. So he built this sukkah, which is, let's say, 7 by 7 tvachim, where you could put your table and chair there, a table and chair. So now from the stage and above is less than 20 amas. So we say that it's kosher, but not only on the stage it's kosher, even the whole schach, the whole sukkah becomes kosher, because this becomes an extension of a kosher sukkah. And therefore, the rest of the sukkah, even though there's 20 amas higher to the ceiling, but because it's an extension of a kosher part of the sukkah, the whole sukkah becomes kosher. That's what he says.
So you mean the thickness of the stage itself is extended?
Right? Maybe you could look at it that way. Yes, that this
Because otherwise it's not.
right.
It's
It's
got to
not
be the whole thickness. Yeah.
right. So the thickness of this part is certainly kosher where the table and chair is, but
Right.
even over here where you're 20 amas to the ceiling, we
Mhm.
considered it an extension of the stage, like you're saying, and therefore this is part of that
I see.
kosher part of the sukkah.
Is there a minimum? Does it have to be big enough to hold a table and chairs, or
Yeah,
what if he
7
would have
tefachim.
made it an inch wide? I mean,
No, the table and chair is the shear of a sukkah. It has to be able to hold a table and a chair, which is 7 tefachim by
and
7 tefachim.
therefore, it's as if it imaginary extends throughout the entire sukkah.
Right. So let me give you the case. Let's say, imagine your sukkah has 3 walls and the schach, normal. But then the schach extends beyond the walls. So you have kosher schach, you have very long schach. It extends beyond the walls. But under that area of the schach, there is no walls, right? Imagine you
Right.
have a ches tape sukkah.
Mhm.
So under by the walls, of course it's kosher. But what happens if the schach extends outward to a place where there is no walls? So that part is still considered kosher, and you're sitting under schach with no walls, but it's an extension of a kosher sukkah.
Mhm.
That's the same idea that we're learning over here.
Mhm.
Okay.
So so that's this case. I guess this is the picture they tried to
Right.
draw in the Gemara. This must
It's a
be
little
ancient.
hard. Yeah.
Okay, but let's say umin hatzad. So the picture shows it from over here. Let's say you put the itztaba on the side. So let's take a look. So he did it this way. Now you have a problem because you only have 2 walls over here, 1 wall and 2 walls,
Oh.
right? So that's the problem over here. You have a
Oh,
kosher
because
sukkah.
the other stage was touching all 3 walls.
That's right. This was touching all
Right.
3 walls, 1, 2, and it's not a good picture, but that's
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So here you have the 2 walls it's touching. So what do? So obviously, we learned this before. If there's less than 4 amas from this wall to the stage, it's kosher because you say doifen akuma. You'd say that as if this is a wall, and this part of the schach is part of the wall. So it's like a crooked wall that just joins to this stage over here. Okay, so that's what we're saying. In minatzad, if you put the stage on the side, if there's more than 4 amas, 8 feet, then it's pasul. Pachas ma'arba amas, but less than 4 amas, kashera. So my kamashmalam, what is that? What is the novelty of that idea? The amrinim, because you're going to tell me doifen akuma. You're going to tell me that you could move a wall towards the stage, and you'll imagine the other wall as if it's a crooked wall. That it's one crooked wall, but it's really connected to the stage. I'm going to tell you that is an open Mishnah with an obvious. I mean, many people have this concept in their house. Tanina, we already learned such a concept. Bayis shenifchas v'sichech al gabav. That's this case. You have a home. My brother has this in his house, where in his living room you could actually, you could open up the skylight, and you put the schach in the middle. And if there's less than 4 amas to each angle, it's kosher. So that's the same idea. Bias says nifchas. You have a bias that has an opening, the sichach al gabav, and you put the schach on top. If there's more from the wall to the schach, dalaram is more than 8 feet psula. Hapachas mekan, but if it's less than that, kshera. So that's the same idea. You're saying that to the stage, to the wall, should be less than 4 amas. That's an open Mishnah. You don't need to teach me that. So the Gemara says there's a big difference. Mahu the same. I would have thought from the Mishnah's case, over here, by the case of the kitchen, whatever, the living room, this was a wall already because it's less than 20 amas. So all you have to do is move it over to the opening. So certainly that could work. But in our case, you have to do 2 things. One, you have to make it a kosher wall. First, because this is 20 amas high, so you first have to move it over and then say it's a kosher wall. So you're actually doing you're doing 2 things. One, saying it's a crooked wall, and 2, saying that it's a kosher wall. It'll have a din of a kosher wall of less than 20 amas. So I thought you wouldn't say that. Kamash Malan, that you do. So that's what we say. Hasam, the same I would have thought. Hasam over there, it's a regular wall. You just have to move it to the center. But in our case, The loy chazi doifin. Originally, it wasn't a kosher wall because it was more than 20 amas. So you have to do 2 steps. You have to say it's a crooked wall and then move it over and make it a kosher wall. A malaya might think that wouldn't work. Kamash malam. Next case. Haisa gavoya mechaf ama. Again, you have the case of the sukkah that's higher than 20 amas. Ubona itstaba be'emtsu usa. So now you built case 3 is you built the stage in the middle. Again, so the stage is in the middle. So from the stage to the top is less than 20 amas. So the Bryce is going to say the Gemara teaching is if there's more than 4 amas from the stage to each and every wall, then it's puzzle. But less than that, ma'arba amas keshera. If there's less than 4 amas to each wall, then it's kasha. So the Gemara asks the question, "My kamashma, what is your novelty of your idea?" The amrin and doifin akuma that we would say we crooked the wall. We say the wall becomes like bent a little bit and could connect to the stage. Hainahach. That is the same case as the first case, where the stage was on the side, was on one side. You said one doifin akuma. So what is the novelty of this idea if the stage is in the center? So the answer is Mahu Desema. I would have thought this novel case, Doifen Akuma Maruach Achas Amrinan. You want to bend the wall from one side, okay, I'll grant you that. Aval Kol Ruach V'Ruach, but in each and every wall, you're bending the wall and bringing it closer to the stage. I would have thought, Loy, that wouldn't work. Kamash Malam, that it does work. So that's why this case, you actually have to say this wall is a doifen akuma, the other wall is a doifen akuma, the back wall is a doifen akuma, and somehow it all moves close enough to the stage. And that is
multiple steps are allowed.
Multiple steps, right. But not only for one wall, but even for 3 walls.
For 3 walls. The second case and his third case, which is even for more than 1 wall.
Right. That's the novelty of the third case, that it's more than 1 wall, because in this case, it's just you're saying doifen akuma on 1 wall.
Right.
This wall. But here you're saying doifen akuma on all 3 walls. And that's the novelty that you probably wouldn't see in the Mishnah, because the Mishnah over there is talking about a real kosher wall. It was less than 20 amas. Here, we're koshering a wall and curving it. So that wouldn't be better. Next. Haisa pchusa miyud. Let's say you have a sukkah that's less than 10 tefachim, and you dug down to complete to 10 tefachim. Okay, so what's that case? Simple. You have a little sukkah over here. Okay, these walls are not here. Let's say they're only 9 tefachim. From the grass to the top of the schach is only 9 tefachim. You need 10 tefachim. So he dug a little grave. He does a little pit over here. Chakak, a little carve out. Chakak is a carve out over here. So the Mishnah says that the teaching is that here, a new idea, it has to be less than 3 tefachim from the carve out to the wall, not 4 amas, not 8 feet, but 3 tefachim. It has to be from the carve out to the wall, then it's kosher. So the Gemara is going to ask, what's the difference? You made a carve out to make it complete to 10. From the carve out, from the edge of the carve out, to the wall, gimel tvachim, 3 tvachim, psula. It's possible. We go to Amid Beis, pachas mishloisha tvachim, but if it's less than 3 tvachim, kshera, it'll be kasha. So the Gemara has asked the right obvious question. Maishna over there, Hasam, by the case of the stage in the sukkah that's higher than 20 amas, the amrit, you say, pachas me'arba amas, all you need is less than 4 amas to bring the wall to the stage. Or Maishna Hacha, by the case of the mini sukkah, which is lower than 10 tefachim, the amrit, you need, in order to make it kosher, you need that the wall should be pachas mishloisha tefachim, less than 3 tefachim to the carve out. Why is it a smaller shear? So the Gemara answers obvious teretz. Hasam over there, the Isa L'Doifen. In the case of the high sukkah, the 20 amma sukkah, you had a wall there. Albeit it's not a kosher wall, but it's called a wall. It's just a 20 amma wall. So therefore, pachas ma'arba amma sagi. Then all less than 4 amas is enough to bring the wall to the stage. But hacha over here, lishvuyir L'Doifen. You have to make it into a wall, because this part, this 9 tefachim, so to speak, is not a wall. It's not even considered a wall. So you have to create the name wall on it. So therefore, it requires a smaller shear to be close enough to the carve out so that you'll have, together with the depth of the carve out of 1 tefach plus this 9 tefachim over here, to create a wall. So if you needed to create a wall, then it has to be close enough of 3 tefachim. And it's a concept called lavud. Lavud, we'll see more about it, but you connect it only if something is less than 3 tefachim. We spoke about lavud a lot in
tell you the truth, the Rebbe in his infinite wisdom made us learn Irvin before Sukkah, because if we did Sukkah before Irvin, I think it would be a lot of confusion.
Right.
Because the concepts, he laid the foundations of the concepts of Irvin for Sukkah, because otherwise I think it would be confusing for us.
Right. If you never heard of
Lavud and Dofen Akum and all that stuff, we learned it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now you're going to have this part. You'll remember. Once again, we're back to the sukkah that's 20 amas. So instead of, you have a 20 amas sukkah right in this picture over here. So instead, he built a stage of 10 tefachim high, but it's far from the walls. Imagine it's many amas away from the walls. From the top of the stage to the ceiling is less than 20 amas. Now so this middle piece should become a sukkah. How should it become a sukkah? It doesn't have wall. Good asik. There's a concept that we extend the walls upwards, and that we saw in Eruvin, that sometimes you can extend the walls upwards. So that's what the Gemara wants to say. Hoisa gavoya me'esrim ama uvana ba amud shuhu gavoya asar tefachim. If it was higher than 20 amas and you built a post that's higher than 10 tefachim, and the post is 7 tefachim by 7 tefachim, so it could potentially be a sukkah itself. It's the size of a sukkah. It's not, 2 inches. It's a real big, mini stage. Sovar Abaye would say, good asek b'chitzasa, that the good asek, you extend the walls, and you imagine that the stage itself, walls extend upwards, and you have a regular sukkah right in the middle of that 20 amma sukkah. Amalei Rava said, no, sukkah is a little different. But ina mechitzas hani korais veleka. You need mechitzas that are actually visible over here. And sukkah, you wouldn't say good asik just like that. It has to be visible walls over here. And true, maybe you could say good asik over here, but it's not visible, the wall. It's invisible. So therefore, according to Rava, this wouldn't suffice. That's not you wouldn't extend, I guess, what you say in Eruvin to sukkah. So now the Gemara says like this: Taner Rabbanan. The Gemara is going to discuss this idea. Taner Rabbanan taught noyins abo kindesim besichach al gabam. Person put 4 poles in the ground, and he puts chach on it. So let's see the picture. He put on top of a roof. Okay. On top of a roof, you have apartment building. They used to have the sukkahs on the roof. So anyway, he put 4 posts all around his roof. And if you would say good asik, you would say that the walls of the apartment building extend upwards to become the wall of the sukkah. So that's the machlokes. Rabbi Yaakov says machshir. Rabbi Yaakov says it's kosher. The Chacham say apostle, because probably you need walls that you could actually see the walls. That's that is the machlokes between Yaakov and the Chachamim. Amar Rav Huna said machlokes al svas hagag. The machlokes is only because they put it at the post at the edge of the roof. The Rabbi Yaakov holds, I'm reading good aches asek b'chitzasa. Because you put it at the edge of you put the poles at the edge of the roof, you say extend the walls of the building upwards. Rabbanan hold, I'm reading good asek b'chitzasa. You don't extend the walls of the building. So that is the machlokes. Do you extend it or don't you extend it? Avo be'emsa hagag, but if you put the posts in the middle of the sukkah, middle of the roof, the hakal psula. So in this picture, according to the way Rav Huna explained, you have a machlokes. Do you say good asek b'chitza? Rav Yaakov says yes, and Chachamim say no, it's not recognizable. But everybody would agree if you put the posts in the center of the sukkah, you made a sukkah look like this. Certainly, there's no walls over here. Everybody would agree that it's possible. That's simple, right? Not so simple. Rab Nachman Omar, Rab Nachman said no. He said, Be'emtza Hagag machloikis, that even in middle of the roof, there is actually a machloikis. In other words, Rabbi Yaakov would make a sukkah like this kosher. Now, how is that possible? There's no walls over here. How is this possible to be kosher if there's no walls? So the Gemara is going to tell us later on that the machlokes is. We had this picture. Let me see if I let me bring it up. Let me bring something up over here. No, I'm sorry, this picture over here. If you recall, you see this picture over here with the water that they needed to take water from the cistern on Shabbos, and therefore they made these double mechitzos over here, like a tefach by a tefach, little small corner posts, so to speak. So it worked to make the whole area that you could take water from the well outside into the area over here. So we're going to learn that the reason why Rabbi Yaakov said that it would be kosher schach, kosher walls over here, because the post itself was a tefach by a tefach, a little bit more than that. So actually, you'll have it's a thick post, so it has a tefach in each direction. So according to Rabbi Yaakov, just like in Eruvin, it works. It would work in Sukkah also, and that Chachamim said no, it was only said by Eruvin, but not by Sukkah. That's the
But
machlokes.
good asik doesn't just work from down to up; it works from up to down. Why couldn't we take the
Because it's a flat
wall?
one. It's but only if it
I'm
goes
saying what the
downwards.
schach is laying on is an actual mini couple inch wall. Why couldn't we just extend it down
Downwards,
to
you
the
could.
top of the roof?
Yes, but it has to extend a little bit further. It has to.
So if
I
they
agree
would have
with you.
put like a little furring strip on the bottom,
Yes, it has to
then
come down.
then it could have been that's enough straight down to the actual roof.
Right. We're going to learn
Okay.
about that. But
Okay.
for now, it wouldn't apply good asik mechitza. But in this case, you would say good asik. You would extend. This is already a wall. So this is maybe like 10 feet. And so you're just extending it up 3 feet, 3 feet for the sukkah itself. So according to Rabbi Yaakov, that would be kosher also. So let's just back up over here. Rav Huna said the machlekes is by the edge of the wall, but if it's in the middle of the wall, everybody's holds it's puzzle. Rav Nachman said that the machlekes is by the middle of the roof. But Ibailu, so they would ask the question according to Rav Nachman, the emtza hagag machlekes aval asfas hagag, but at the edge of the roof, the vehakol kasher. What would you, Rav Nachman, hold? Would everybody hold that if you put the post at the edge of the roof, would it be kosher? Because you said that the machlokes is only if you put the post in the middle of the roof. But what happens if you put the post at the edge of the roof? Would even the chachamim agree it's kosher? Dilma bebezu machlokes. Whether it's in the edge of the roof, whether it's in the middle of the roof, is machlokes. What do you hold, Rav Nachman? So the Gemara leaves that unresolved. But Rav Nachman is certain that the main argument between Rav Yaakov and the chachamim was only if you made the post in the middle of the roof, not at the edge of the roof. And the Gemara is going to prove it again that Rav Nachman is correct in his understanding of the machlokes. Meisvei, there's a specific brisa that says, Noyetz dalet kundesim ba'aretz. Here you put 4 posts in the ground, right? Not on a roof. V'sichich al gabam, you put the schach on top. So there is no wall. It's just laying there on the ground, right? Let's see if we have basically it's on the floor. It's basically on the floor. Here. He put it on the ground. So you put 4 on the ground with not part of a wall. So therefore, the Brisa says, Rabbi Yaakov machshav Chacham paisam. Rabbi Yaakov still says it's kosher, and Chacham says puzzle. For Eretz, putting it on the ground against Agadomi, that's like putting it in the middle of the roof, because you're not borrowing any other wall. And nevertheless, v'kol machshav Rabbi Yaakov. Rabbi Yaakov says it's kosher. To Yufta Rav Huna to Yufta. This is a refutation of Rav Huna, who said that in Emtza Hagag, everybody holds its puzzle. But here, you could see that Rabbi Yaakov still said that if you put it on the ground, and probably even if you put the 4 posts in the middle of the roof, so you're not using the walls of the building itself, it still will be kosher. So that's a refutation. Oy. Now the Gemara just says, the Gemara just wants to ask to really knock it into Rav Huna. You're saying be'emtzahu de pligi, ava asvas hagag. Maybe from this brisa you will say divri hakol. Everybody agrees kasher. If you put it on the edge of the roof, it would be kosher. So that's a double refutation, because Rav Huna said that their only argument was asvas hagag if you put the posts at the edge of the roof. Would it be a refutation of Rav Huna by both ways? Whether he said the machlokes is only on the sfas hagag and not be'emtza hagag, and now we're learning the opposite. The machlokes is only be'emtza hagag, but al sfas hagag there is no machlokes. No, so the Gemara says it's not such a refutation against Rav Huna. Rav Huna would say pligi be'emtza hagag. They're really arguing in the emtza hagag. And they would also argue at the edge of the roof. So why are they arguing at the middle of the roof? To Rav Yaakov, to tell you the power of Rav Yaakov, that even when it's the middle of the roof, nami machsher, it's also kosher. Okay, so let's leave it right here, and let's go just another few lines just to complete the thought. The machlokes really is that if you make, everybody agrees that the machlokes between Rabbi Yaakov and the Chachamim is the machlokes between Rabbi Yaakov and the Chachamim is if you make the sukkah on middle of the roof with 4 posts, Rabbi Yaakov says it's kosher. Now let's just quickly understand why that is so. So now the Gemara is going to explain it. Tanu Rabban, no, it's arba kadesim ba'aretz. You put 4 posts in the ground. Rabbi Yaakov says, if you would make a carve out, and smooth it out, then you look at it as a double post. If we imagine that you would be able to carve out the round post, you would get 1 tefach this way and 1 tefach the other way, right? You have tefach in each direction. So that's enough. And you do that with all your 4 posts, you'll say, you'll imagine as if the mechitza continues. So according to Rabbi Yaakov, just like you probably say that in Eruvin, and I told you say it at Eruvin by the case of the double posts by the water over here. We say that idea that you're allowed to carry all around this area because this becomes like its own Rishus Yachid around the well. So huadin, by sukkah also, you'll say that you carve it out and we imagine that there's walls all around. That's the answer. So Rabbi Yaakov says, but if there's no tefach on each side, it's not considered a double. If there's no tefach in each direction, it's not considered like the double post. Rabbi Yaakov, you said, if you make a double post of a sukkah, all you need is a tefach. The Chachamim say no. Chachamim said, in order to make a normal sukkah, you need to have 2 full walls, the halacha, but the 3rd wall, I'll grant you, it could be a tefach, but not that each wall should be a tefach. 2 have to be normal, and the 3rd can be a tefach. So that
in Eruvin, what was that concept when they had travelers? They were concerned about it, and they made those 4 different posts 1 by 1. And there was a special little area. What is that area called again? Do you remember that?
I don't remember. A be'er around the well. Yeah. I know the picture, but this is the picture of it. But
yeah, they were right. They were concerned that they were going to. There was going to be from Rishus Yachid, Rishus Rabbim, right. And they made it like a Rishus Yachid for these travelers when they're going to Yerushalayim, right? Remember there, and there was a specific concept over there. That was, name, called, right?
Oh, here it is. Passe Bioris. Passe Bioris. You see where my finger is over here?
Yes.
Passe Bioris, it was called.
Yeah.
Let's say Passe the double post. Right.
Okay, so that's it. Okay.
That's what it says. Rabbi Yaakov extends it to Sukkah also, and the Chachamim said
but Chachamim said that's not going to hold. They need at least 2 walls.
You not to have 2 walls. Rabbi Yaakov says you look at it like this way. Very good.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Good night.